Okay. Let's see what's there to say today. I actually don't really feel like using words today, if I'm being honest. Maybe I just invite you to breathe with me. Deep belly breaths. Hmm. And maybe as if the breath was like coming up from the feet, from the earth as well. Like you're drawing it all the way in, up from the earth. Maybe you simultaneously feel breath, life force, prana, energy raining down through the top of the head as well. Attending to the breath is one of my all-time favorite things to do, if it's a thing to do. Just like allowing myself to be wholeheartedly absorbed by the flow of the breath and the blood. Hmm. Sometimes it's very strong in my experience. Words are redundant. Breath, energy, it says all there is to say. I mean, I say that, but just before I came in here to record this for you, to sit in front of you, this is my, it's interesting, it's not like a ritual practice where it's like bowing at the altar. But in a way it is also, because it's like I sit in front of this camera and I observe what surfaces, what presents itself to be seen. And of course, the practice of noticing and loving what is doesn't change based on what presents, what's what shows up. But just before I came in here to record this I was sitting on the lounge with my hubby, and he was saying, do you know, we're the only couple I know that still talks for hours? Like, I think he referenced a couple other couples, and how most of their communication is about logistics and dogs, kids, stuff like that, household things. And it had me thinking about how, unless one is deeply committed to their own, I'm going to use the term unraveling, sure, unwinding, unraveling, unwrapping process, and genuinely inquiring each day, like, what's here now? And I guess a student of the mysteries in that way, in their own body temple. Like, unless we can do that in our own body temple, then how the heck are we going to do that in relational space with someone else? Like, relating grows old and stale because people have this idea of, I already know this person. But if we're constantly discovering ourselves, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going to come out of, like, if I can't say that about myself, if I'm still constantly discovering myself, how the heck can I say that about another person? I know them. I'm reminded of the scene at my, I don't remember what birthday party this was. This was in Bali, so it wasn't this last year. It would have been the year before that. My birthday party, I remember Mikey saying something along those lines, my husband saying something along those lines of, like, I hope I never know you. I love still discovering you, and I hope I never know you. And I mean, we've been together 10 years. We've recently passed our 10-year anniversary. And it's still this constant, like, what's going to turn up today, right? Like, in the most delightful, joyous way, but, like, yeah, from the inside out. Like, what's going to turn up today in the Divya? What's going to turn up today in the Michael? Yeah, it's a joy to discover. And we spoke yesterday. I was a bit, what's the word I would use? Disconnected. That's the word. Disconnected. Yeah. I was processing so much, and I'd gotten quite heady in the process of it, and I found, I guess, through the processing and sharing with you is part of the process, right? Like, that's part of the process. It's but I found a clearer way to articulate the thing that the key point that I'm making in this book is humans always need to attach to something. Like, that's our biological wiring. We're wired for attachment. We are wired for attachment. We will always look to attach to something. And if that something isn't the infinite, divine, God, self, whatever word we use for the infinite, then it will be to another person, place, or thing. And we will be codependent. We'll be codependent if we attach to anything outside of source and self. And it's really that simple. The talking about it's that simple. The practice of it. And the practice of it is also simple, but it doesn't necessarily make it easy when we're up against habituated patterns. And I fully acknowledge that. I fully acknowledge that. When we're up against habituated patterns, it can feel like we are... Atlas is the one that rolls the boulder up the hill, right? On Mountain Olympus. I think it's Atlas in that myth. No, that's Sisyphus. Yeah, Sisyphean task, right? Like where Sisyphus is rolling this boulder up the mountain, and it gets to the top, rolls down. It's doing it constantly. In this myth, the Greek myth of Sisyphus. Yeah, I can feel like the Atlas is the one with the world on his shoulders. That's the one carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. And both of them, right? Like these metaphors of I guess futility or hardship, disempowerment. I really, really love the way that the sages of the ages remind us to remember who we are. And that's the one thing I come back to again and again and again. Remember who you are. Because in the remembering, there is the releasing of the struggles, the fears, the pettiness, all of the things. And so again and again, there is the practice of returning home to truth. Which, in my experience, is unspeakable. Although I must say I do have this beautiful warm glow feeling in my earnest attempts, right? I find all us humans so adorable in our attempts. The attempts to be loved, in the forgetting that that's the core of who we are. Right? It's just so amusing. Or the attempts to thwart love in the belief that we're unworthy when there's the worthiness wound is activated. And it happens here too, from time to time. It does happen, for sure. But it amuses me greatly. Yeah, it really does. So much. Deep compassion for the intricacies of our psyches. Yeah. Eternal curiosity. And I guess it goes hand in hand with, it's like, we can spend our entire lives trying to understand ourselves. And if we only do it through the mind, if we only do it through the psyche, we're missing the very heart and the very core of who we are. It's one-dimensional. And we need to include all of it. Yeah. Let me see if there's anything else I feel to say. I sent out an email today to the people who pre-ordered my book. I can't believe it's been 4.5 years since they pre-ordered my book. It's not the first time I've sent them an email in 4.5 years. I've been sending updates. I'm not that consistent. Hadn't been, in touch communications wise that often. But I let them know today, here's where we're up to. Yeah. I said in the email, aiming for a launch of March 2025. Yeah. And it's interesting because it's like there had been a lot of nervous energy around publishing this book, and it wasn't the right energetic, and I didn't want to do it from that energy. So I've just been working with myself, and just unsubscribing piece by piece, story by story from different things, and so that all parts of me are fully on board with this. And there finally seems to be like a much that it's more than ever before. And so there's actually this level of excitement around releasing these books into the world. And before it was, I see that as a higher energy than dread and fear, because before it was kind of like, soul is asking me to do this, and I'm going to do it because soul is asking me to do it. But then there were parts of me that were feeling like victimized by it, and I needed to work with that energy. So it's like, no, this is not something that you have to do. This is for you. You also get to do this, and making the connection between putting myself out there in the world and in these books, and the opportunity to connect more deeply and have more meaningful, deeper conversations. And to have, when you release something into the world that gives other people an opportunity to like build upon and extrapolate ideas. Like this is like a, a co-creative process. We can all kind of come together and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I see how this links here, and to be of service to others, to enrich the body of knowledge. And it's, at the end of the day, it is what has been asked of me. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's it for me today. That's it for me today. I feel one of the ways this practice is going to evolve is I'm at the stage now after doing this for a month. I do want to be a little more intentional about it. So it's like I'll be more intentional of like on certain days I'll do certain meditations. Like this was like a stepping stone practice. I think that's like just show up every day and just say what's there. Don't make it a thing. And then now I can be a little more, okay, I want to talk about these topics on certain days, or like, and still not fully scripted, but I have an idea of what I want to say rather than just rock up. And I'll probably keep that for some days too, but I just also want to add in a little more intentionality. It feels true to add in a little more intentionality and maybe more guided meditations and things. So if you are one of the people watching and you feel to give feedback about what you'd like to see or hear more of or less of, feel most welcome to do that. Yeah. Sending you loads of love.